Frame 4 just underway then between Matthew Stevens and David Morris. These two playing for a place in the semi-finals of the Wuxi Classic Snooker. Morris having won the last 2 frames to edge in front. And the world number 145 looking very impressive in the early stages here. Stevens certainly won't be panicking though, vastly experienced professional that he is. One loose safety in the previous frame proved costly. Well, he's not played that very well. That's another loose safety from Stevens. He hasn't got a red past the centre pocket. This is cuttable by Morris. Getting position will be the problem for him. Elected to go for the long red to the top end of the table. Missed it by some distance, and he's left this red. The problem for Morris there was that had he taken it into left centre, the cue ball was heading into the pack of reds. No guarantee of position. Stevens using what looks like a very weather-beaten extension on his cue here to get the extra leverage.
Might play a cannon into something here, unless you can get enough action on the white just to avoid the pack. There's a red, goes to the left corner. Might just stun up 2 cushions here. He's gone for the cannon. No, 2 cushions it is. Slow down. Just got to trace aside. He might have gone too far.
6.
This table has picked up over the last couple of days. It's lightning fast now. It's so responsive. Just a trace of side on the cue ball, and you've lost position. And there you go.
Barely recognisable from the conditions on the first couple of days.
They're playing beautifully now, Phil, aren't they?
Just the safety then for Stevens. Wanted to slip past the brown ideally, but he's left nothing.
If that red wasn't there on the top cushion, there would have been a path back to bulk, but I think that's stopping that plan. We'll have to find another way. I'm not sure whether there's too many options here either. Well, down the left-hand side, I think, the tail as we look. Ooh, caught the second red. That's disastrous. Well, that could prove to be very costly indeed. It was a good return safety by Matthew Stevens, but there was a chance to get back to the baulk area there for David. Just caught the red all wrong.
Six. Seven.
Coming back to the tables as well, Phil, you know, with the heat underneath and everything drying out, it's a constant brushing and ironing as well. It's like just nipping the greens at Augusta, isn't it?
Yes, we talked about how responsive these cloths are, where conditions are at the optimum, and that's just how the modern players like it.
Well, just look at that. He's hardly struck that. Beautiful stroke on the ball, and you know that's what the boys like to do. They like to get through the cue ball with, you know, minimum effort and get maximum effect.
I guess the one thing you could say, Mike, if you were being picky, is that arguably less skill required now in terms of the cue power that you would have needed back in, say, the 1980s when conditions were heavier, the cloths weren't as responsive, and it was the players who had the ability to really get into the reds and split them asunder that prospered more. And perhaps that's an element of the game which isn't quite so necessary now.
Yeah, I bought the Charles Atlas book, you know, just to build myself up, really.
I remember John Parrott saying to me, though, and I think I'm right in saying that 7 of John's 9 ranking titles came abroad. And he said part of the reason why he had so much success overseas in ranking events compared with the UK, and of course he won the world in the UK here, so he did it in the UK as well. But he felt that because conditions were markedly heavier when he played abroad, you needed that extra cue power to really get the reds open, and that was one of his great strengths.
Yeah, well, I think me and John had similar styles, actually, because we used to punch the ball around rather than a lot of these lads sort of stroke them, like the Ronnies and the Stephen Hendrys and all that sort of thing. But definitely we used to sort of punch into the ball. And I was, because I started, you know, when I was a young kid with the old crystallite balls, and it was damp conditions, so you needed to have a pretty good cue action to push the balls around the table. I think all of the old stars started that way, but the new stars, they start in these conditions straight away, because invariably, oh, you see the white going there, invariably the tables are done up for them at the club, either by the parents or by the club owners or by the sponsors, whatever. So they're playing on these conditions automatically now, whereas in the olden days you had to sort of play on heavier cloths with heavier balls. So I understand what you're saying, but say me and John probably had some, you know, we did have quite similar styles actually in getting through the ball. But when you see these lads just stroke the balls around, I mean, there's nobody better than Ronnie when he's putting it together. You know, Stephen Hendry was the same. Mark Williams, they just love the super fast cloth, so you can just touch them. Nice touch there. But they do take getting used to.
Well, I guess the other thing about these modern tables, Mike, is that the nap is less important than it used to be. Because back in the day, when the cloths were that little bit thicker, you could really tell when you were playing against the nap, couldn't you? I mean, the ball would visibly deviate. Less so now.
Yes, into the middles especially. You'd aim for the back half of the pocket and it'd come back into the middle. They hardly move offline these days. You're playing into the centre of the pocket all of the time, knowing that they're not going to move. So
there have been some subtle changes in the way the game is played over the last 20 years or so as things have evolved.
Well, you know, in any sport, can't you? You know, the plastic coated footballs and whatever, they're lighter, they deviate in the air, don't they? Give goalkeepers nightmares.
Well, golfers now driving the ball 400 yards.
Oh, incredible,
because of the new technology. Things do move on and you have to adapt to the changes.
The old hickory shafts, to the old new titanium graphites. And
well, I guess you could describe Stevens as one of the old guard.
Yeah, well, on the cusp.
Somewhere between, kind of bridging the gap between the old and the new. Turned pro in '94, so nearly 20 years on the circuit now. He's witnessed the various subtle changes in the game down the years. Still only 35, Matthew.
Well, you know, the way the game is and whatever, you can keep yourself reasonably fit. He's got a good 5 years in him, really. I mean, it could be even more if it's Steve Davis. What's Steve now? 56, is he? 57, something like that?
His ranking still lower than his age, which is his stated goal from here on in. And we know there are a number of players, Rob Milkins, Mark Davis, Anthony Hamilton, who had a good run here before his defeat by Milkins today, who are enjoying something of an Indian summer. Davis into his 40s, playing the best snooker of his life. Made the UK semi-finals last season. Beat John Higgins in the World Championship. Hamilton another 40-something. Milkins heading that way. Ronnie O'Sullivan's just won his 5th world title, age 37. He'll be 38 later this year, so there's no reason why you can't still enjoy success as you head into your 40s, as long as your eyesight stays good.
25.
You keep yourself in reasonable shape.
26.
That looked like a heavy contact to me, but Stevens continues. 52 points to the good. In the frame he needs to level the match at the mid-session interval. John Higgins, by the way, on a break of 43 as he looks to move 3-1 in front of Joe Perry on table 1.
Yeah, he's just starting to motor over there, John Higgins. We thought that was going to be a cracker between those two. I know the form that Joe Perry's been in of late, but we've seen the determination of John Higgins from the off this season, haven't we?
Well, Higgins would have been mindful, I'm sure, that Perry's been in good form, and he would have been aware that he probably needed to raise his game a little today, and it looks as though he's doing just that. But yes, Higgins already with a title under his belt in Sofia.
Yeah, and that's out of respect for Joe, of course.
Well, it's good to see Perry playing well again. Slipped out of the top 16 in recent times, but a former World Championship semi-finalist. With some great results recently. Yes, down to 20. Now 19th. Started at 20, so he's moved up a spot. Pretty tight around that top 16 area. Although I guess, Mike, you could say with the advent of players now entering at the round of 128, the top 16 ranking isn't as important as it was, although of course certain tournaments are still protected, not least the World Championship.
Yes, but of course the Masters as well, but we've got 3 cut-off points now during the year, haven't we? It's not as if you start the season in the top 16 and you seeded through. You know, if you could be sitting at number 27 and all of a sudden you could be in the top 16 and be in the Masters. So you can see where the cut-off points are in the calendar and you can target your events and try and gain as many points as possible.
Matthew Stevens just a ball away here from clinching this fourth frame.
And the danger he's got that if he tries to just dolly this in and he misses it, he's going to leave everything on for David, but he's got it. Well played. Well, he's played it well. He's played it in such a way not to leave the other red on, so it's good thinking.
Good response this from Stevens to Morris's two-frame run.
Yeah, this was a big frame here for Matthew. There's no way he wanted to be 3-1 behind at the interval.
Matthew Stevens, 40.
59 the difference, 66 Stevens lead. So David Morris needs a couple of snookers here to have any chance of salvaging this frame. Doesn't want that to go in.
The worst thing for him is put the blue safe as well, which you'll need later on. Well, this frame should be over now. Well, the red near the black won't go. He's still got the one on the right-hand side. Quite there yet, i.e. for a concession. That's a clever shot. He's got the blue away from that core side cushion, I should say, but he's left the red on, unfortunately. So if this goes in, that's definitely two apiece.
Clean as a whistle.
Yeah, I'm sure Matthew happy to be 2-2 at the interval. Actually, he can think about things in that 15-minute interval and probably come out all guns blazing. We know that he's finished this match. He's had to just hang in there so far.
Best of 9 has become a best of 5. Both players are playing pretty well. Who knows, it could go to the wire.
14. 50. Twenty-two. 23.
Well, I think he'll be reasonably happy. 2 apiece. Everything to play for in the second half. Has he got that one? Oh, good shot.
So Stevens just polishing off the colours here as we prepare to head into our mid-session break.
39.
Joe Perry needs snookers, by the way, on table 1 in the 4th frame. Higgins poised to move 3-1 in front in that one. And Matthew Stevens has polished off the 4th frame of our match here on Eurosport 2. So all to play for after the interval. 2 apiece between Stevens and David Morris.